1.
I'm Fritz Skennick. I was diagnosed with schizophrenia in 1992, a few months after my 21st birthday. It all started in my late teens, when I began to hear voices and my paranoia pushed me into an antisocial spiral. Initially, I thought this was normal. After all, didn't everyone have internal monologues? Didn't everyone have mental duality to process information? But as the voices became stronger and more prominent and aggressive and controlling, I began to realize that something was wrong with me.
Okay, so I am a freelance artist. I got diagnosed with bipolar manic depression when I was 23, whilst I was in my second year of film degree in Newport. And so I went there to be a filmmaker, and by the time I came out, as well as having my film degree, I had a diagnosis of bipolar and was declared disabled for life.
My name is Nigel Streeter and you're listening to your weekly wildcard on Bro Radio 98.1 FM, which goes out between 7 and 9 every Wednesday evening. And you're very, very welcome. It came about because I was a police officer for 30 years, and with about 24 years servicing, for no apparent reason, I started feeling as though I wasn't feeling well. Everybody has their own sort of normal. Nobody has the same type of normal. And then sometimes people tend to, when things start going wrong, they tend to ignore it. And for me, it culminated in the fact, because I was in what was considered to be like a macho occupation, being a police officer, I tended to ignore it, and it got worse and worse. And I ended up having a huge panic attack at home, and I couldn't walk, I couldn't talk, I started shouting at my wife and all that, and I didn't understand what was wrong.
I had visions of the most horrific nature, seeing things I really didn't want to see, with such clarity that I'd question my reality. The voices themselves are both male and female. Sometimes they talk to me, other times they will talk about me without interaction. And they come in various forms. Some hate me and will drive a campaign in my head of what a loathsome, repulsive creature that I am, and that no one could ever love me.
Now, actually, they told me at that time I was kind of 2 ticks away from being schizophrenia, because there's no exact science behind it. The difference being is that I carried on with my film degree and was given help, and people go, oh, that's really interesting, that's the creative one. If I'd had schizophrenia, I would have had a completely different life, but actually there may not be very little difference between us.
My obsessions escalate my conscious state as I run scenarios in my head, adding variables from unknown factors that become truths to me and fuel my delusions. I've been a prophet of the Lord. I've contemplated serious harm and worse upon myself and others, and I've nearly been sectioned numerous times when my mind has consumed me. It has taken me most of my 20s and 30s to develop and find various coping mechanisms to deal with these meltdowns. These included self-harm and self-medication with drugs and alcohol.
Yeah, I think when I got diagnosed, I was on lithium, and I lived on it for about 5 years. I've been medication-free for about 15 years because the harm that the medication was doing me was outweighing the benefit.
Realizing that the meds weren't working for me, I requested that I come off them. I mean, just because you're heavily sedated doesn't mean that you're not screaming inside your head. My psychiatrist then suggested that I begin to keep a journal of my thoughts and voices as an alternative to the meds. I began to do this daily and quickly found that reading the journals back eased those fears and obsessions. I've always been quite articulate, and when I began to notice patterns in my writing, I found that if I edited them, they had the potential to become literary art.
A lot of people with mental health, whether they know they have it or not, issues, are drawn to the arts. It's not a surprise when people kind of reveal that that's how I came to the arts, is that it was mental health first, and the arts was how I expressed myself.
And so my journey into creative therapy had begun. In addition to writing, I sing my songs, and my voices now harmonize with me. I'm waiting, I'm hating, when fear is all I I see. When there is all I see. In silence. And as technology has moved on, I use phones and tablets to create films and produce music to express my thoughts and ideas in a visual and auditory arena. Others have joined me on this path and collaborated on many projects in many genres and mediums that have helped them too. Nothing to say, really.
The first Welsh Avenger.
Well, yes, I am the first Welsh Avenger, and my father was the first Welsh Avenger before him, and his father was the first Welsh Avenger before him.
Yeah, telephone man is absolutely bloody awful.
Yeah, I'll just fuck off. Just fuck off! Alright then. Alright, bye mum.
Although I feel I must stress that I am a high-functioning schizophrenic, and although creative therapy works for me and many others, it is not for everyone.
Sort of therapy or drug or something like that. Some people would try it and they'll find it has no effect. But it's something I think that you have to get into for a certain period of time. And once you've done that, and you will soon find out after that period of time whether it works for you or not.
Some that I work with do get great benefit from creative therapy, but must also continue to take their meds, because creative therapy alone is not enough. Others I've tried to work with can get quite frustrated and anxious if they can't express themselves in a creative medium. All I can really suggest is to try it and see if it works for you.